Okay, now we're going to look at subtracting numbers in scientific notation. We looked at adding, now we're going to look at subtracting. So our example is 5.63 times 10 to the fifth is being subtracted by 4.3 times 10 to the third power. So once again, we're going to look at two types of method or two different ways of subtracting numbers in scientific notation. So the first method wants us to put both numbers in standard notation and subtract the numbers. Then you are going to make sure that your final answer is in scientific notation. Okay, let's pull it apart. So we have 5.63 times 10 to the fifth power, and we're going to write that in standard notation. So when we convert in standard notation, our first factor, we do the same for the second factor. Now we're going to subtract the numbers, and then we're going to write that out in standard notation. But our goal is, our end product is to make sure our answer is in scientific notation, which is shown there. Okay, hope that's making sense. Let's look at the second method. The second method wants us to move the decimal the correct number of times to make the exponent the same. When we move the decimal to the left, the exponent gets bigger. When we move the decimal to the right, the exponent gets smaller. So now let's go ahead and first take a look at how we're going to make the exponents the same. So we're going to start by looking at 4.3 times 10 to the third. Once again, why are we starting there? Because it's the smallest exponent and we always want to make that exponent bigger. So since we want to do that, we are going to move the decimal to the left and move the decimal 2 times to the left to make the exponent of 3 become the exponent of 5. Hope that's making sense. Next, we are going to subtract the first factors of each of the quantity. Write the power of 10 using the exponent. That's in both quantities. So now you notice that my exponents are now the same. And then we are going to write our final answer in scientific notation. Hope that's making sense. It's the same as adding. The only difference is we are subtracting. Now let's take a look at the example. So pause the video and you try this one by your lonesome. Okay, let's see what you get. So I'm going to start off with method 1. So method 1 wants me to make sure that I convert in standard notation. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So when we convert that number, I know I'm moving my decimal places over 3 times to get it in my standard notation form. Same, I'm going to, according to my power, it's -1. So I'm going to move that over so I can convert my number in standard notation. Next, we're going to subtract. When we subtract, are we finished? No, we're not. We need to make sure that our answer is in scientific notation. So now we're going to move that decimal over 3 times to the left. Make sure our final answer is in scientific notation, which will give us, hope you got that. If you did, yay. Don't worry, we'll practice. All right, for those of you who try method 2, we are going to make the exponent the same. And we're going to start by looking at the smaller exponent. Because once again, our goal is to make the exponent bigger. So when we look at the smallest exponent, we are going to move it over 4 to the left. Okay, so we're going to hop 4 times. When we do that, we put the two quantities together, subtract. Now if you notice now, I can go ahead and do my subtraction. Why? Because my exponents are the same. When I subtract, notice my final answer, I'm going to write it in scientific notation. Once again, you can rewind, rewatch as many times as you like.